Hello, everybody. Today we are joined by Dave Mack, the man who has interviewed more than 1,000 carnivores. Dave, I'm very excited to have you here, and I'm excited to put you on the other side of the conversation perspective, or I'm not sure what you'd call it, and be able to ask you some questions. So, Dave, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon. I really appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. So, first question is, how did you get into carnivore?
Um, yeah, well, it's kind of weird being the person that's answering this question now.
You've asked that a few
Um,
times, haven't you?
so I found carnivore by accident, but through necessity. Um, I had a couple of problems I was trying to resolve with keto, and I was using keto to stop drinking or get off the alcohol and also to try and resolve pre-diabetes. And I was using keto because I was reducing the sugar and I knew from past experience with it that it would help me with self-control. And it did work, it did the job, but I also found myself having some bathroom troubles from it. And after doing some research, I narrowed it down to it being the vegetables, the particular vegetables I was eating that were causing the gastric problems. So basically, to call it exactly what it was, I was having diarrhea pretty much straight after eating,
Right,
and
interesting.
so I found some videos that were talking about the particular vegetables I was eating being irritants. And I decided, okay, well, everyone seems to be saying, because I was going down the rabbit hole at that point, everyone seems to be saying that not eating vegetables is not necessarily a bad thing for you. So I'm just going to try cutting out the vegetables and see what happens. And so I cut them out, and the rest is history. I've been carnivore ever since, and the bathroom troubles subsided.
Fantastic. And so after, or when you were in this period of thinking, okay, well, maybe the vegetables aren't necessary, were you looking at carnivore content, or how were you learning about this world?
So when I started searching, I was Googling and then I go to YouTube and I'm searching on like, why is this happening? And I found one of the first videos I found was a Ken Berry video. And I'd seen Ken Berry in the past, and for me, he was keto, you know. And so I thought I had tried keto so many times in the past, and I was on keto now. So I was like, well, I trust what he says. And it was a video where he was kind of talking about, I think I was wrong to talk about needing vegetables all the time. And I don't think you necessarily need to have them in your diet, that kind of thing. And then he pointed to nightshades being one of the main issues or main irritating vegetables. And that's what I was eating because I was trying to get my vitamin C up because you need your vitamin C from
Mm.
vegetables, right? And I was eating like red peppers and yellow peppers and things like that. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe these are irritating. But while I was considering this, because I'd been watching more Canberra videos at the same time, more carnivore stuff started coming into my feed. And that was when like Joey Schwartz was getting started and that kind of thing. So like his videos started coming in, and then Dr. Chafee and Carnival Quest and Steak and Butter Gala and all everything started coming in. I'm like, okay, so this is the thing. And yeah, so that kind of gave me the confidence to give it up. And I mean, I wasn't tied to vegetables. I was eating them because I thought I had to. I wasn't eating them because I had this affinity for them. So yeah, it was easy to stop. It wasn't like I went through withdrawals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's comforting when you see more than one person talking about not eating plants. If it's just one guy, you're like, oh, this is the kooky guy. It's like those people that only eat fruit. It's like, what is going on here? This person is not quite right. But then when you see as you have seen personally, hundreds and thousands of people come out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, I also do this. It's been great for me. It's very, very affirming. Just
Mm.
taking a step back. So, with the alcohol, were you a daily drinker? What was going on there?
Yeah. So it was a real problem. It was daily. It had become it got to the point where it was most of my drinking was on my own,
Yeah.
and once the same as sugar, once I had one, I couldn't just stop at one. The only benefit to alcohol that sugar doesn't have is that alcohol is self-limiting. At some point you're going to have to stop,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
you pass out or you throw up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But so it had got to the point where I was drinking, I'd get to the end of the day at work. I'd have a couple of classes left and I'd be thinking, I can't do this anymore. I cannot teach another class. And then this voice in the back of my head was like, it's okay. You've only got an hour to go. You've only got 2 hours to go. Just get through this and you can have your first drink. And it was like that thought of just cracking the first can of beer open was what got me through the last hour, last 2 hours of the day. And then, like, it's those kind of things that just added to it. And, before I knew it, there was nothing there was no evening, because it was just like, I would get home and just sit in front of the computer, just staring at the computer, just mindlessly drinking.
What, just like even on YouTube or something, or you're not even doing anything. You're just drinking.
It would start as let's go and find a video to watch or something, but then it would end up as just like I'm just pottering around looking at random things, like opening a browser. Oh, just check my internet banking or something. And then, like it just, yeah, it was random
Mm,
surfing around, not really doing anything, totally
mm,
mindless.
mm. It was more about the drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it always beer that you were drinking? What was your poison?
No, it probably would start with beer often because like in Japan, it's normal to drink on the train or normal,
Yeah.
acceptable to drink on the train, right?
Right.
So I would get a beer on before I got on the train, and that first beer would be as I was commuting home. Um, and yeah, so I'd have a beer on the train, but then often you get home and it'd be like red wine or something.
Yeah. I mean, particularly like in Australia, it's very much in the vernacular to be like, oh, I'm going to need a drink after this, or, I can't wait to, get home and crack a beer, or just, that's sort of like the symbol of the day being done, which,
Mm.
I feel that can like just lead to this sort of self-fulfilling thing where it's like, oh, that's how I reward myself. Is that what was happening for you?
Yeah, I mean that's how it started. I mean, I think I've got this the worst of all worlds, right? So like, I'm Scottish, raised in Australia, so like
Yeah.
it was a terrible combination, like two big drinking cultures
Yeah.
combined. My dad was an alcoholic, and like all these things together is just like kind of edging me in the direct not let I'm trying to blame anyone or anything, but like kind of all these factors kind of edging me in a direction which I shouldn't have been going anyway, because I think my personality is I've got an addictive personality. If you can get addicted to it, I'm going to get addicted to it. And so yeah, I think with that kind of culture in Australia, the background of being born in Scotland and raised, you know, it wasn't good.
Yeah. Well, well done for breaking the cycle. I mean, you've certainly put a
Cheers.
put a fork in the ground and said, no, we're going in another direction.
Mm, cheers.
So talk to me about why the keto or a carnivore diet, why do you believe that that's an effective way of treating alcoholism?
there is something about getting the bulk of or all of the carbohydrate out of your diet that gives you self control that you do not have when you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates. When you're consuming a lot, especially processed, but when you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates nonstop throughout the day, there's something that is just, it's almost like it's weakened your body. It's like sabotaging your body in some way that you just don't have the self control that you are kind of born with. And like within days of, I mean, I've it's over 20 years. I've been on and off Atkins, keto, whatever for over 20 years. There's something that happens within a week of getting carbohydrates out of your diet that it changes everything. And that's as far as self-control when it comes to things like food and drink and stuff, but it's also the way you interact with people, say in the office. Maybe you normally kind of you have this hair trigger reaction to things when they go wrong, or when someone maybe challenges your idea about something, and that all that just goes away or is much more manageable. And yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain zen or contentedness that comes with a carnivore diet that is it's hard to explain if you've never experienced it, but it does make stressful situations or potential cravings or potentially giving into addictions or things that you really don't want to do. It makes it so much easier to handle, and I fully appreciate what you're saying. It's
Mm.
for anyone struggling with alcohol or any sort of addiction, removing all the carbohydrates and removing all the noise makes it so much easier, and you can actually sort of be yourself without getting into these things.
That's actually, you use a good word there, removing the noise. Because I think that's some, it's like you're almost drowning in this sea of fogginess of like the carbohydrate fog, and it just removing that, it's like, okay, I can see clearly now.
100%. So you've got this incredible YouTube channel where you've interviewed more than 1,000 carnivores. I keep a close eye on your channel, and you post often multiple times a day, and they're really high quality interviews. I know many of the people who have been on your show. I think you're doing such an amazing job. Dave, how did this YouTube channel come about?
So about 4 months after I'd been carnivore for 4 months,
Yep.
and I was just experiencing so many dramatic changes. Of course, weight loss, but clearer thinking, better sleep, more energy. The arthritis had gone in my left knee. Um, I was walking better. I've always had a unbalanced walk because I had a stroke when I was 17. Um, Unrelated to carnivore, of course, that's 30 odd years ago. So, but yeah, I had all these problems, and in 4 months, they'd either resolved or were getting better. And I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, over my 20-year history of trying Atkins and keto on and off, and always having success when I did them, and then having this massive success on carnivore. And I'm just like, we've been lied to about everything in the food system. And you
Yep.
watch TV, and every ad is about telling you the wrong thing. Everything is pointing you in the wrong direction. You go and you talk to your doctor, and your doctor's like, well, it's all about balance and all this kind of thing. And it's just, it's all wrong. And I just wanted to kind of add my voice to all the other people that are out there talking about carnivore and say, yeah, me too. It works. And I thought, few people are going to watch my videos, mostly friends or family doing pity views and that kind of thing. And it just took off. And the thing that really motivated me were the comments. and people saying, yeah, that happened as well to me. I'm doing so much better. Yeah, I had a stroke too. My wife had a stroke too. And after she started carnivore, started getting better. And that was it, you know. I had to keep making videos.
And did the videos start out as just you talking to camera, or how did this thing get going?
Yeah, it was just me sitting here going, this is what happened to me, or, talking about alcohol, talking about the stroke, bits and pieces. And yeah, it just, a couple of people had reached out and said, hey, you want to do interviews? And I was like,
Yep.
okay. And they went really well. And that just took off from there.
So you noticed when you started putting this out there, there were all these other interested people who wanted to hear your story and wanted to learn from you, and like the comments were really positive. It's amazing on the on Carnivore YouTube channels. The comments are amazing because you get people weighing in and being like, Carnivore saved my life and sharing these incredible stories. So yeah, I know from doing something similar to you that it's very self-affirming and just makes you want to do it and do it and do it.
Right. And many of the people I've interviewed, I tend to finish the interview by asking, like, what would you recommend to someone who wanted to start carnivore?
Mm.
And many of them will say, go and watch carnivore videos, but don't watch the video, just listen to it. Go and read the comments.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, like a lot of things, even it happens, same thing on Instagram. Like, somebody will put up, a message about carnivore and you read it and you're like, well, the 1,000 people commenting, like literally 1,000 people plus
Mm,
commenting, can't be wrong, right? These are all, personal messages from real accounts. It's just, it is phenomenal. You
yeah,
very rarely get a negative comment. A negative comment might be like, I just started, I've got diarrhea, I don't know what to do.
right,
That's often what it is. It's like, I'm trying to get this thing right, but I need to tweak it somehow because it's not working for me. Um, yeah, it's an amazing one. It's a great community, the carnivore community. Um, Dave, so you've interviewed over 1,000 carnivores. Can you tell me some of the interesting things you've discovered along the way?
sure. First, I've, overall, is that everyone follows the same kind of trajectory, which for me feels like this is one of those signals where this is the way we actually should be eating, because everyone kind of follows the same path. There's little things like some people have more bathroom issues, or some people will take longer before they start losing weight or whatever. But generally, people follow the same kind of path. And when you're talking to them, everyone's story sounds so familiar.
Hmm,
And
totally.
just those little things, it's kind of those little indications like, yeah, this feels like it's the way we all should have been eating in the first place. But outside of that, the stories about people with MS and healing from MS, they've had these chronic fatigue symptoms for 20, 30, 40 years, and then just changing their diet um, can give them energy they haven't had, they don't remember having, get them out of a wheelchair, get them walking. And in some cases its lesions are disappearing. um and so there's like the MS side, there's vision coming back,
Yep.
which is a massive thing. Like vision's one of those things. It's like, the running water in the kitchen, you don't think about it ever until it's not there. And yeah, so many people have improved their vision. I've got interviews with people who are legally blind that their vision's coming back, glaucoma getting better. Um, and I think, I guess those are the two big ones that stick in my mind, is MS and vision. But um, overall, I haven't spoken to anyone who has said, I did the carnivore diet 3 months and all the problems. I experienced everything. I got diabetes. I got all this. I got that. I got no one says that, right? I mean, diabetes is a big one as well. But that that's the fun. The bigger thing than people able to reverse their type 2 diabetes with carnivore is that you forget it's a thing because basically everyone does it.
Yeah, I
If
know.
you've got type 2 diabetes, it gets reversed, goes into remission, whatever you want to say. But it's so common, it's just like you forget.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not really excited by that one. People come into the carnivore challenge all the time, and it's like, I've got pre-diabetes because I think half of America has either pre-diabetes or diabetes. So people come in with that all the time, and it's like, okay, now my blood sugar has normalized. I'm like, yeah, cool, done. It only takes about 3 weeks for most people, and yeah, even people with type 2 who are taking exogenous insulin. Oh yeah, my doctor's taking me off insulin. Perfect. All right, now we can start working on some of the more major issues, and often they'll be like, but I still want more weight loss. It's like, okay, well, we can work on that. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like the diabetes one is like, look, the most effective treatment for it is to stop eating carbohydrates and sugar. Go figure. Can that just be the default treatment around the world already?
And there's, the fact that it is so simple and so straightforward, and it's maddening to me that there are still influential doctors out there, even on YouTube, talking about how fat is the problem that causes diabetes, because they've somehow got it all, like, they're looking at the Randall cycle, I guess, and they've somehow got it all like turned around. They've twisted themselves in knots to say that, oh, it's because your body is going, well, there's fat there, so I'm going to take the fat into the cells, so the insulin's got nowhere to go. So rather than stop eating the insulin producing foods, you need to stop eating the fat so that your body can still keep producing insulin. It just kind of makes no sense.
Yeah, it baffles me. I mean, the whole fiber thing baffles me as well because there's all these studies out there saying, eat more fiber, get more healthy. The main benefit of eating fiber is that it slows down the absorption of sugar in your blood. Great, excellent. So, you're better off eating an apple than you are drinking apple juice. Fantastic. All right, but what does fiber actually do? What nutritional benefit do we get from fiber? None. And so when you take it out and you just eat a carnivore diet, there's no need to slow down the absorption of sugar in your blood because you're not putting the sugar in the first place. And you still
Exactly.
just get the same constant loop on Instagram all the time of some doctor coming out and saying like, you need more fiber. Carnivore diet's going to kill you because you're not consuming fiber. It's just on and on and on.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's always going to be one of these arguments you can never win, because you're
Yeah.
arguing with people who are constantly moving the goalposts. So whenever you're about to kick the ball through and they're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to come up with another thing that fiber is good for.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like the MS stories and the vision stories are very dramatic because that's sort of something that we've assumed in our minds can't be reversed.
Mm.
Um, but I imagine you've had hundreds of people come in and talk about mental health improvements, talk about weight loss, talk about reductions in joint pain. And as
Mm.
as you say, I can imagine that sort of becomes like, okay, yep, I've heard that one before. Yep, I'm not surprised that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to hear these stories, but then, yeah, I think it comes back to, as I said, um, at the beginning of this question, like everyone's kind of following the same path.
Mm.
So like for myself, the arthritis disappeared, and it's like, so when someone says, like, I don't mean to kind of make anyone's story seem not important or anything like that. But it's like when someone says my arthritis is gone, it's like, oh yeah, well I can check that one off as well, kind of thing. Like, happened to me too, kind of. It's again, it feels like this is the way we should have been eating all along, because everyone's following that path.
Mm. What's it like being a carnivore in Japan?
It's surprisingly easy.
Mhm.
I think, a lot of people think, oh, well, the mainstream media makes out, oh, Japanese people are so healthy because they don't eat meat. You know, they're kind of they've taken the Seventh Day Adventist thing and
Blue
transposed it on
zone.
Japan as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a blue zone. Yeah, but yeah, it's very meat heavy culture. Yeah. And the culture is very strong here because it's such a homogenous society. There's like it's not multicultural at all. And so their culture is very strong. They eat a lot of pork, they eat a lot of beef, a lot of chicken, and of course, a lot of seafood. Um, and they every part of the animal here, and many things that in Western countries you go, oh, really? You're eating that too? So yeah, it's pretty easy because of that. And you can go to like barbecue restaurants, Korean barbecue restaurants, they're called yakiniku here. And just sit there and grill meats for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, all you can eat. It's pretty good.
That sounds amazing. When it comes to carnivore, do you eat all meats? How far do you go? What sort of stuff? What do you eat basically?
But pretty much stick to steak at the moment. I was doing ground beef, but in Japan they mix it, so they put pork in with it. So it's kind of like a 60-40 split or something, 40% pork. Um, because pork is such a big thing, people really like pork and whatever here, but I kind of don't like it in ground up with beef. I just want to eat the ground beef. So I've kind of gone to steak at the moment, and yeah, so I have a couple of steaks and 6 to 8 eggs every day.
Do you eat once or twice a day?
Typically once, but if I've started to feel a little bit hungry, then and it's not too late, I'll have something else to eat. But that'll end up usually being eggs then, because it's just easier to cook, quicker to cook.
100%. Yeah, very similar to me. Love it. All right, Dave Mack, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here. Keep doing what you're doing. I think it's brilliant. 1,000+ interviews so far, and many thousands to come. So, Dave, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Guys, go and follow Dave's YouTube channel, No Carb Life. It's excellent. Make sure you subscribe to it, and you'll see all sorts of familiar faces from the carnivore world who've been interviewed by Dave over time. And at the same time, please like and subscribe to the How to Carnivore channel. It really would mean a lot to me. Alrighty. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Dave.
Cheers.